Hi, everybody. Today's March 5th, 2024. I'm honored to have with me Gordon Jones. And this is the actual real Gordon Jones, right? Um, the topic today is how to clone yourself through AI. And so I assume you're not the actual DNA genetic clone, but you can discuss with us a little bit what you mean by that and what's the value proposition for our listeners.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you for the time today and pleasure to meet you and speak with you about what we're doing with AI, primarily in the sports industry, but it's across the board for anybody that wishes to expand access to their knowledge infinitely and 24/7. So we're not cloning people via DNA.
Yet.
Right? We are cloning people digitally. But the interesting thing about our cloning is it's not just your regular like chat GPT type of AI.
Mhm.
We're actually taking your content that you've created and that's available, and it can be available in a podcast or a YouTube channel you've created with a bunch of videos on it, or written a book or your blog or whatever, wherever your content is, we can absorb that and train our AI to basically understand and know your knowledge. Okay. And then on top of that, we add personality. So we work with you on defining and understanding what your personality is, and then also your voice. So the other unique capability that our cloning system has is we can train your clone on your voice so that it's not only um, communicating and sharing your knowledge that you've built over the years, but it's also in your voice to where you can a visitor can have a two-way conversation with you. So they're not seeing all the chat that's going on like you would at ChatGPT or any of the other AIs. It's actually a two-way conversation, more like you would have with an advanced Alexa. Um, so that's what we're doing. So our technology enables us to clone people digitally. We call them a digital twin, and then make that available to their clients or their visitors or however, whoever they want to.
So what's your background and how did you get into this and how much of your time are you devoting to it and what's been the upside? And are you doing a startup or are you just kind of part of a greater movement and there are many, many of you, Gordon Joneses, doing this particular sales aspect of this product?
Well, there's only one Gordon Jones. Oh, I have a digital twin. You can. So on the digital twin side, well, let me go back. So my doctorate's in health administration. So how did I get into health tech? So in the early 90s, I was on the health services side. So I was working with hospitals and doctors and all of that when the world of what we call managed care was coming into play into healthcare, which was reducing healthcare's providers' margins, which means they then had to start operating as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I realized in 97 that healthcare couldn't operate as a business without advanced information technology management, like the business world was adopting. So healthcare tends to be about 10 or 15 years behind the rest of industries, and especially in regards to business. So in 1997, I flipped over to learn about health information technology. And so that's what I've been working on since 97. In 2000, I started focusing more on startups. So I started a couple of my first startups were in healthcare. We designed the first web-based interface for a physician billing system. So it made it easier for the practice to interact with all the claims process, for example. And then from there, got into some other technologies. And now, in the later teens, I got into blockchain, cryptocurrency, all of that. I look and see what's coming down the pathway and then how we can adopt that technology into really, truly a business. And then sometimes I create a business around that or I don't. For example, I created a live streaming application in 2010, which was a year and a half after the iPhone was created, in order to live stream video from a 911 incident to first responders before they even get there, so they can see what's going on and maybe even interact with people who are at the site before they get there. So that was ahead of its time. Now we do live streaming all day long. Though the 911 system is still not enabled your phone to be able to stream a 911 incident through the 911 infrastructure, right? So I was talking with them in 2012 in order to do that with my tech. And but anyway, so now I teach blockchain and AI and data privacy at the University of South Carolina. And
go Gamecocks.
Yeah, go Cox, go Gamecocks. And
I don't really. My kid.
Yeah, our basketball teams are doing really great. We started off really slow, and we're like number 5 in the nation, so we're doing pretty good.
Good. Yeah, my kid went to the other USC, so there's some confusion.
Yeah, there is no other USC. We were founded about 55 years before Southern California was, so we're the real USC. They just happened to have gotten the domain usc.edu when we had sc.edu.
Got it.
But anyway, so fast forward up to today. I'm actually the CEO of Pickle Zone, which is a startup bringing advanced technology into the sport of pickleball. Pickleball is the world's fastest growing sport. And so what we've done is we've cloned the world's winningest world champion, Scott Moore, who was recently inducted into the Pickleball Hall of Fame in December. So we've cloned him. We've taken all of his expert training techniques on teaching people how to play pickleball, strategies for how to play better pickleball so they can advance their ratings and be able to become more competitive. And so what you're seeing here is Scott Moore. Now what you're showing, this version here, is the text-based. You can go in there and you can type in a question about pickleball and it'll come back like any other chat AI with text. But if I'm not sure so on your browser, you don't have the phone piece of it to where, there you go. I'll tell you what, click on that.
Yeah.
And now you'll actually be able to have the conversation with, is it asking you?
No, I just asked it better than tennis. I don't know. I just, we can stop that. So that's kind of a,
yeah. So whenever you try clicking on that phone icon again, I probably want you to enable something, but that's okay. Yeah. When you're at the site, you enable your browser to be able to do two-way voice with the clone. And that's what that'll allow you to do. So the other unique thing that Pickle Zone is doing is we're able to take a video of your match play, and then our AI video interprets what it sees. You hit a forehand or a backhand, where you placed it on the court in your opposition's court side, and did you win or lose the rally? So a lot more data than that, though. So that data gets inputted into our system and translated so that Scott Moore can understand it. And then Scott Moore, the virtual coach, can render instruction and comments on your play. And so that's how we're leveraging all this for the sport.
Am I paying Scott Moore for that?
Pardon me?
Am I paying Scott Moore or the app?
Well, you're paying Pickle Zone, and Scott Moore's an investor in Pickle Zone. So, but let's say it's just some random professional out there that wants to clone themselves, they would do that through our platform, and then we would pay them. So we get paid by the customer, and then we pay the professional.
Right.
And we're not doing this just for pickleball. We've already started building a clone of a professional cricket player. We'll be working on all other sports as well. But we're really hyper focused on Pickle Zone right now, since it's a great market to be in and nobody else is doing this in that sport.
Well, it's a nice thing because there are a lot of starters. Speaking of startups, there are a lot of people wanting to start up in pickleball. No, I'm a
there's plenty. Yes, plenty.
Yeah, I'm historically a squash player, but I'm kind of migrating more to tennis. And everyone asks me all the time about pickleball, and I have nothing against it. It just hasn't come up yet. When I was younger, I played paddleball, which is very similar. It was one wall, and then there's handball. There's a bunch of these things, ball against the wall. When I was really young, we played king ball, which I think is local to New York City. Probably not.
Probably. I haven't heard of that one.
I played stoop ball. You know that one? I
don't know.
Okay. Anyway, stoop ball is a bunch of steps, and you have to hit either the inside crack, the line, or the out. The steps have that pointy, part where you can hit, and the ball goes differently, or you hit it inside, where the steps meet each other. Anyway, okay. And then it's played baseball rules. How far it goes and who catches it, that kind of crazy.
So
stuff.
as long as when we are videoing, we've trained the video AI to understand that sport. Okay,
that's incredible.
So you always have to train AI. So we've trained the AI in pickleball. Some of our other video partners have done other sports. Nobody's done cricket yet. Mostly around soccer and some of those things, but we can also do track and field sports. So what we do is we capture the video, and then we use experts to train the AI on what it's seeing. And then once that happens, once it's trained, then it's automatic. You use your smartphone, or we've got camera sets that you can permanently place wherever you are for that. And so the platform absorbs that video, interprets the specific sport, and then delivers it to that particular expert. So in other words, we're not going to take a video of pickleball and send it to a basketball coach, because the basketball coach can't interpret.
Well, that's interesting. I play chess, not as much as I used to, but there's a little chess app on my phone, and phone fits in my pocket. Phone can do 1,000 other things, and he's better at chess than I am. It's like kind of frustrating. But but the pattern recognition is there. That's all. When I am doing something else and I want to kind of relax and look at a chess puzzle, it takes me a few seconds to like where am I on this board? What's happening? What are the pieces? Each one has its own magical powers. The bishop goes in, whatever. And so it takes me but of course the app doesn't have that problem. It sees the chess thing immediately. It understands the values and the synchronicity of pieces, who's blocking whom, what can happen 2 or 3 moves later. And obviously the stronger the firepower behind the computer, can beat Kasparov and all the current chess champions and whatnot. And it's, kind of an amazing thing. So I imagine, in the same aspect of playing chess, that it can notice these kind of chess-like, confluences and situations and pick those up. But it's obviously a little more complicated because the chess pieces we're talking about 64 squares, and pickleball, it's not infinite, but there's an infinite number of different positionings that people can have and shots and whatnot.
Well, we don't want it to be generative. We want it to be specific to a particular expert.
Right.
So we could take all of these experts and aggregate them into the same thing, which is what ChatGPT done with everything. But what we want to do is be particular to a particular coach, because a coach is going to earn revenue from coaching. And we're just helping to expand their, clientele and all that through our system.
Fair enough. So, you've, I don't know if I found you, you found me on LinkedIn, and I think you have a kind of a marketing funnel, getting some prompts from you. and I assume they're personal. Each one is personal, um, and I get some follow up, kind of standard funnel technique. Can you tell us a little about what it is you're selling to those people on LinkedIn who come to your page and whatnot about cloning oneself, and how does that apply to everybody else, and how is it since I don't even play pickleball, I'm not going to give any pickleball advice. I'm a medical doctor, and I have a small practice currently, but I also have a book out.
Yep.
and whatnot. And as far as the book goes, I mean, my book is on the Zika pandemic in Brazil, 2015-16, and why it disappeared and so forth. I have a Brazilian audience in a sense, so I assume this, if I train it on the topic of Zika, it becomes a Zika bot. Would be able to answer in multi languages, Spanish, Portuguese and whatnot. I mean, just kind of rein us in a little bit here.
So the content can be translated. Primarily, it can be translated. It's easier if you actually upload the Portuguese version of your book.
Mm-hmm.
And then if your AI is trained on the content from Portuguese, it'll speak in Portuguese.
Right.
There is a capability for us to translate, so your clone to be able to translate. So like if they log in and say they want to speak Portuguese, then it could speak Portuguese.
Right.
Okay. Now, what am I pitching on LinkedIn? So the reason why I like LinkedIn and not Facebook or Instagram or any of that is because professionals are on LinkedIn. This is primarily for those who might have an expertise in some area that they may already share through consulting, or that they want to expand access to, like a video course, or they don't have any way to expand themselves currently. They haven't created a course or anything like that. So this is a novel way for them to expand access to their knowledge. So that's what I'm pitching to LinkedIn, my LinkedIn network. We also are building an affiliate network for that. And that is all built on Delphi.ai. So, we're one of the things that I'm doing with Delphi is helping to build their base. And so that's one of the things that I'm pitching to LinkedIn network people.
So how many conduits to Delphi AI for making oneself one's clone are there? Or do you have an exclusive with them, or are there other?
No. Well, no, I mean, I'm helping them build their affiliate network. So if there's people who want to actually create a business helping others build clones, then I can help set them up for that. No exclusive per se, but I'm doing pretty well at that.
Right. So,
but also other entities. So larger organizations, I've already started presenting this to where they have, like, for example, there are personal development platforms that have 100 different personal development experts within their book of business. So I present to them this capability. They're all basically primary video courses.
mm-hmm.
Well, what they can do is clone that professional, and then in their course have the clone alongside the video. So once the person watches the video and they have questions of that expert and not a chat bot, then they can just click on it and ask that expert about that particular lesson. What we call those instances. So we can train your clone on to only talk about that issue or that lesson in that instance. And then they can load that into their video course, and it basically augments their current book of business.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes some open questions about oneself versus the kind of crowd mind or the hive mind. I did primary care medicine for 30 years, and people come in and they ask me stuff, and a lot of it's just kind of rote. You have a strep throat, you get penicillin. You have earwax, you take that out. A lot of it's not really much to quibble about, and so forth. But then people have, I was asked, I was kind of a medical visit of my own yesterday, and the medical assistant asked me, her friend's on Seroquel for sleep. What do I think about that? Well, it's not my patient. A, she's not my patient. B, I don't necessarily have an opinion, but I started to think about it, so forth. And then I'm like, well, is my opinion any more valid than, the hive mind on this particular topic? Because who knows? Anyway, but on the other hand, it was very particular because she had this particular concern, having seen her friend on this medication act very strange. So there's something there that's not necessarily going to be rote, not necessarily going to be ChatGPT-ish. It's something particular, like what concerned you, how concerning was it, and so it becomes something where your personal aspect comes in. But could the cloning aspect come up with something, a question that's never been asked before, and how do you prepare yourself as a clone to answer things that haven't been asked?
Well, so there are, if the clone wasn't trained to answer that particular question, our system doesn't hallucinate. It won't create its own answer. Okay. Which is another part of the value that we bring to individual experts, is that, hey, if you haven't trained it to know the answer to this question, then it'll say, hey, I don't have enough information to answer that question.
Right.
And then actually that'll trigger back to you a notification that, hey, this question was asked. The clone didn't answer it. Do you want to write an answer to it?
That would seem to be the right way to go in a sense. Getting back to my own kind of practice history, historically, I mean, there are different times in my life I probably knew better things or different things, or sometimes the body of knowledge changes. I'm old enough to remember when the treatment for peptic ulcer was, a white diet, eat milk and cheese and macaroni or whatever. And then, in the I think the 80s and early 90s, it was like, oh, guess what? There's an antibiotic that will fix that, and it's a bacterium. Now, if I had been saying stuff, we used to tell people, try to reduce stress for your ulcer, blah blah blah. That's wrong. That's body knowledge is wrong. Plus, even things that have remained fairly static, like blood pressure, whatnot. Treatment hasn't changed that much. My own approach to it might have changed, because people might have side effects from medication, and they might have other interests and so forth. And how bad is it? And there are other.
And you can update your clone with the latest intel.
Fair enough.
As a matter of fact, we can. And I've got to go in about 2 minutes, but so we can include in your clone the ability to go to your blog. So whenever you update your blog or your website or your podcast or whatever, it's getting the latest information automatically. And then if you want to upload some kind of content that may not be out there that you want to
if we do this, do you find yourself attracting individuals or groups? And mind you, a hospital would see, thousands of the number of patients that I've seen, and theoretically they have, thousands of the number of doctors that I am, and they might be able to aggregate their answers. Is there going to be?
We're working with a multi-specialty physician practice right now, so we're going to be cloning each physician,
right?
So that it's their practice within this multi-specialty practice, but the overall organization is going to pay for that,
right? And
make sure that it's, but at the end of the day, they could also create one just for the practice that answers all those questions. They could do that. Okay. But yeah, if anybody's interested in what I'm doing, they can reach out to me at it's Dr. Gordon Jones on LinkedIn is the easiest way to get me. Or Gordon, Gordon, at picklezone.com.
Right. Well, I have you here as well.
And that's my clone. So they can go there, delphi.ai/Dr. Gordon Jones, and check out that.
And here's one of here you are on LinkedIn. And just lastly, if people want to help support my podcast here and get great guests such as Gordon Jones, they can go to Amazon and purchase my book. It's even better if they read it. It's called Overturning Zika. The pandemic that never was. Fascinating stuff. Nothing I thought.
Yeah, let's make a clone based on your book.
All right. I'm also a member of an angel group, and maybe we can talk a little bit about.
I love that. Yeah.
Realm. All right. Thank you so much, Gordon, for coming on. Appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you again.